A top Obama administration priority has been strengthening the Securities and Exchange Commission. So now we want to get an insider's perspective on just what that means for the commission and what they're focused on these days. For that, we're joined by Marc Fagel. He's regional director of the San Francisco office at the SEC. Good morning to you, Marc. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Margaret.
Can you give me a sense of what has changed since you've joined the SEC? What sort of ammunition do you think is sort of in your pocket these days?
Well, I've been here about a dozen years, and the last year alone has seen significant change, a much more aggressive tone at the top from the commissioners, from the chairman, new head of enforcement, new head of our exam program, and really pushing us to be much more proactive rather than simply waiting for tips and complaints to come in, to really be out there looking to see what's going on in the market and be on top of it.
I want to ask you specifically here about some of those new tools. Just last week, we started talking about swirling issues around shares of Microsoft, particularly Pequot, that hedge fund, and their CEO who did settle with the SEC regarding charges of insider trading. But what was interesting to me was that the lawyers for the woman who helped basically the SEC find this case, the ex-wife of one of these Microsoft employees, did receive payment for helping with information. To what degree is this a tool that the SEC is relying on a little bit more these days?
Well, historically, insider trading is one of the few areas where under the law we do have the ability to provide compensation for those whistleblowers out there who provide information. I understand there's legislation pending that would expand our ability to reward whistleblowers. It's important. We get a fair amount of information from the marketplace, from FINRA, from other SROs, but there are limits. We're not privy to conversations when inside information is being tipped, and having somebody on the inside can go a very long way to help us advance our investigation.
But the counter to that would also be that perhaps it would, draw a lot of false cases or give incentive for people to perhaps find information out there that might not necessarily be a legitimate claim. And what do you have to say to that?
I think it's a fair point. The amount of information that flows into the SEC is astronomical. I've heard reports of 700,000 complaints a year at this point come into the SEC, and one of our largest burdens is sifting through that information and trying to make sure we're allocating our resources towards the most promising investigations. So we do try to have systems in place to make sure we're making the right calls. But yes, as more information comes in, it does call for more judgment on our part and how to exercise our investigative authority.
Sir, one of the biggest cases out there that has so many people talking about the SEC and sort of a stronger, more active SEC these days is the case against Goldman Sachs. There continue to be reports that they may be settling. Do you believe that settlement is still on the table for them right now?
Not appropriate for me to comment on any particular case. Fair number of SEC cases obviously do settle, but one thing for people to understand is that we've got the resources and the will to take them to trial when it's called for. So in any situation, we'll take the aggressive stance, we'll go to court, and if parties decide it's in their interest to propose a settlement, that's always something that we're interested in talking about.
All right. Thanks for joining us this morning, live from San Francisco, regional director there of the SEC.